welcome in to DNVR Madness Live. We're previewing today's games, and let's just dig right in because we're kind of short for time. Colorado's game is first. Oh, I should say, I'm Henry Chisholm, Justin Michael from DNVR Rams, and Ben Gerding from DNVR Buffs. We're talking about this Buffs game today first. What do you guys think is going to happen? Do we all have CU here?
Yeah, I think we do all have CU. I think after the Pac-12 title game, I speak for a lot of people that are going to have cautious optimism, cautious being the key word there. But look, there were a lot of upsets yesterday. You know, if you had a chalk bracket, it's not looking so hot right now. And so if you're therefore a Buffs fan looking at this first game of the day, you're probably thinking, oh, here we go again. And I do think there is some reason for that doubt. But if you just look at both of these teams' full resumes, Colorado's a more talented team. They've done it more. And yes, Georgetown's hot. They've won their last 4 in 4 days to win the Big East tournament. That being said, Colorado should win this game. And I know crazy things happen in March. If you're an Ohio State fan, you know that with Oral Roberts beating you last night. But still, you have to be disappointed if you lose this game. So instead of, talking about that, let's be positive here. They're the better team on paper. They're the better team on the court. They should be able to take care of business today.
We already have a line outside the door for Buffs fans.
Oh,
yes.
Wow.
Nice.
A line out the door. That is what we want to hear. Justin, what do you think?
See, even Silver Buff knows. Recording a show while RK is locked out.
That is good.
Look, guys, this is a matchup where, you should have reason to be a little bit nervous. Georgetown's hot coming in. We've seen Oregon State. I mean, Georgetown, they've got a true 6'11" center in Wahab, and I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, and if I'm not, I'm sorry. But the thing that intrigues me, at least from an outsider looking in, is CU, they've really handled those big guys well throughout the season. I mean, you look at a team like USC and Evan Mobley and all the problems that he's presented for everyone else in the country. I mean, the Buffs, they beat the hell out of him 3 straight times, and yeah, Mobley had a pretty good game in that third matchup, but it's not like he took over. I think the Buffs got the size to contend, and ultimately, you've got your senior point guard in McKinley Wright. You've been through the struggle. This is what it's all about. This is when your team has to make a run in March Madness and capitalize on all that progress that you've been building towards. Again, this is March. Weird stuff happens in March. But if I'm putting my money on this game, and I'm putting my money on McKinley Wright because I just trust him too much in this situation to let the Buffs fans down. And that's coming from a Rams guy, so that's genuine. This is genuine praise.
Seriously, but that's how I feel too. There's just too many reasons to like Colorado. And I've said this before a couple times this week. My feeling is that if you're picking Georgetown to win this game, you're either doing it because you like the rebounding matchup because that's the one thing on the floor where you could actually tangibly say, I think Georgetown is going to be better in this part of the game. But then from there, you're saying, weird things happen in March. The 5-12 matchup is cursed or something. Those are kind of the arguments you have here with the rebounding, which will help. And, crazy things do happen in March. And there's no guarantee of anything, but I do think that playing on the second day of this tournament, after watching all those upsets yesterday, makes me feel even better about going into this game because they've seen what happened to Ohio State and what happened to a couple other teams yesterday. I think that we're going to get Colorado's best. I think that there is the potential that maybe they do come out a little bit tight. That's what happened in the championship game, but I feel good. They did.
And they said they wouldn't do that.
They did.
And that's why, and that's honestly why I feel better going into this game. Ali called it. They said they changed their routine. And look, I don't understand. You play 30 games in a regular season or throughout the course of the season, and for that final game, you decided, hey, let's get cute with it and not listen to music before the game. As far as other things, doesn't make any sense. Deshaun Schwartz, McKinley Wright, they talked about it. They were tight. They wanted it too much. I think that was a good reality check. And while I'm a firm believer that I think a Pac-12 title would have been better than a Sweet 16 run. I do. I think it would have meant more to this team. That being said, that's now off the table. What is still on the table? A run in the tournament. And so now they've learned and they can move forward with it. Henry, I love that you brought up rebounding. That's the one line in this box score where Georgetown has the advantage and Colorado just needs to keep it tight. Not just true rebounding, but also on the offensive glass. If you're giving up a lot of second chance points to this Georgetown team, that's how they're going to stay in it. Colorado, they need to force turnovers. They have a turnover advantage on the season over this team, and that's really, I think, the two areas that are important. Win the turnover battle, and then just stay competitive on the glass. You don't need to beat them on the glass because you're not supposed to. Just stay in it. Don't let it get too far out of hand, and those are going to be your keys to victory for your Colorado Buffaloes.
CSU playing in the NIT last night, they were playing Buffalo, and Buffalo's the best rebounding team in the country at 44 a game. Pull down something like 15 or 16 offensive boards a game. Just a relentless
Absurd.
team on the glass. CSU, they won that game. I don't know. I know it's the NIT, and just, let me go for a second here. They managed to keep it tight on the glass. Yes, they lost the rebounding margin by 2, but it was 13 offensive rebounds to 13 offensive rebounds. CSU actually ended up winning, the points in the paint, and it was just a very similar matchup, and it really comes down to effort. Yes, you need your big man. You need him to box out. You need him to, be banging down low. But it's going to take the guards, man. It's going to take a lot of people crashing. You got to make sure that you're not, letting people seep through the lanes and come behind you. It's just doing the little things.
Yep.
That's what can make or break you in a game like this. And if you're Colorado, you're sitting here and you're thinking, how do we prevent ourselves from having that disappointing loss, that first round exit? Do the little things. You have the talent. You have the offense. Defensively, they're fine. Just battle for the rebounds. Don't turn the basketball over, and you're going to be in a position to win this game.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you hit the nail on the head. Of all the things that you do in a basketball game, rebounding is just quite literally, it's effort. It's who wants it more. Yeah. And that's what you love because you bring up guards. I don't think anybody wants it more in this tournament than McKinley Wright. And for somebody who's 6 foot tall, we saw it in the tournament run, a 6 foot tall guard who can seemingly jump out of the court when he's going for a rebound. He doesn't dunk a whole lot on fast breaks, but when he sees a rebound and sees a ball, he goes and gets it. So you hope he's probably going to need 5 or 6 rebounds by himself to really keep Colorado competitive in that.
Yeah, you brought up the NIT. I feel like this is a good time to just plug real quick. The CU women's basketball team in the WNIT yesterday won 68-45 against Louisiana, and today at 4 o'clock they play Nebraska.
Dun, dun, dun.
So
Yes.
when the Buffs men's game's over, we're going to be watching the WNIT game because CU Nebraska's a lot of fun, and because NIT runs before have turned into future NCAA tournament success, and we're hoping that's true for the Rams and for the CU women.
Let me ask you guys this before we move on. Any concerns about playing the first game of the day? Because if I'm a player or I'm a coach, I don't really want to play the first game of the day, and I don't want to play the last game of the day. I think I'd probably rather play the first than the last because I don't want to sit around all day and think about it. I don't know. It feels like a lot of times those early morning games end up being kind of sloppy, kind of just looks like both teams are trying to wake up, still figure themselves out. Or are you guys under the belief that, let's just get up and play and get it done with?
Get up and play because I think the more you sit around, I think the more in your head you get. And quite frankly, I think that's what happened with Colorado in the Pac-12 tournament game. I mean, that game tipped off at 6:30 their local time. And so you're sitting there all day, nothing else going on. Now, obviously, they probably had a couple of the championship games on, but for the most part, you're just kind of sitting there waiting. I agree. It probably is going to be a little bit of a sloppier first half. These teams just trying to get up. That's going to be, noon in Indianapolis right now. But also, I think you have a chance at a really good game because Virginia Tech, Florida, the very first game yesterday,
one of the
went
best
to overtime.
of the day.
Yeah, one of the best of the day. So you hope that it's a good game. I, for one, think it'd be fine if it was a blowout, but that's really just not really how March works, especially with these 5-12 lines.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I like the idea that you get the game out of the way early. I really hate waiting around all day. At the same time, very first game of the day, better than the last game of the day, better than the second to last, third to last, but third game of the day is the sweet spot.
The sweet spot.
Me, I don't hate it. So I'm thinking let's run through the games today, talk through those, talk through our favorite picks, and then if we have time, we'll go back and recap some of the stuff we learned yesterday, and if not, we can talk about that stuff tomorrow before those games.
Plenty of time.
They'll play again.
Morning shots. Where's the tequila? Morning shots.
So that is not something I had considered.
It's not something I'd like to consider.
Is somebody willing to pay me to take said?
Once the buff starts. Tell the
Once the Buffs start, we'll
I'm not even a Buffs guy. I'm not getting peer pressured into drinking tequila at 9 in the morning.
You are though.
It's almost 10 though.
You're
so.
getting pressured. Let's jump into the rest of these games. So we all are picking Colorado. Second game of the day is loading. Do you guys know what that is? off the top of your head?
UNC
There you go.
Greensboro, Florida State, a 13-4 line.
Yeah.
Look, guys, we've already had one 13-4 upset. I called it yesterday on the preview. North Texas taking down Purdue. That said, Florida State, they just have so much length. They're a really tough matchup for a smaller program like this. I'm not going to sit here and act like I watched a bunch of UNC, Greensboro this year. I got Florida State in my bracket. I will say, though, the Eastern Washington-Kansas matchup makes me a little bit nervous, 14-3. My guy Eli Bedker, national college basketball analyst, swore up and down Oral Roberts was going to win that Ohio State game. He's not even a gambler. He's just straight up like, this is going to happen, and it happened. He feels really confident that Eastern Washington has the firepower to take down Kansas. So, if you're thinking about sprinkling a little dough, looking for that major upset, could be a bad day for the Jayhawks.
I kind of like that. I only know what Eastern Washington did to my Montana Grizzlies throughout the course of this season. And based on that, I would say that they can beat Kansas.
I love your Montana takes.
I will say, too, for Kansas, though, one benefit is David McCormick is playing today.
That's true.
And that was that was part of the COVID concerns. Jalen Wilson is out. But having David McCormick, who's their big guy, he's really their catalyst. And so that's important. Because I was just going through, because you mentioned Eastern Washington, Kansas, and that is one of the games that I wanted to highlight, as well as the Ohio-Virginia game, because those are both teams with COVID pauses, with issues in those programs. I'm looking to pull up the injury report on Virginia now, but I'm hoping Florida State takes care of UNC Greensboro, because my 13-4 matchup is the Ohio Bobcats over Virginia.
I got it as well.
So
it just feels right. This Ohio team, they're hot at the right time. They've got multiple guys that can really attack you offensively. They've got some issues defensively, but they really bring the pressure. And honestly, Jason Preston, who's kind of Ohio's star, he's probably the best player on the court. And just given everything that's going wrong with Virginia, their history, the Virginia teams that tend to choke in the tournament are the ones that are inconsistent defensively. That has been this Virginia team throughout. Some nights they look like the typical Tony Bennett team. Some nights I'm just like, man, how did you guys compete with Duke? It feels like the upset's there for the taking. I'll go ahead and just throw it out there. That's my bold upset. It's not that bold because we've been talking about it for a couple of days, but yesterday was North Texas over Purdue. Today I'm going 13-4 again. Ohio Bobcats, baby, taking down Virginia Cavaliers.
And if you are betting, I think this is a fantastic line.
Such good value.
Ohio is +7 in this one. Virginia has not practiced yet. I think they practiced yesterday,
that's
actually,
right.
Indianapolis. Yeah. So this is a team that has been off for 9 straight days. They've practiced once before the tournament. We don't know. I could not find the injury report yet, so I'm not sure who's in, who's out from a COVID front.
I'm sure they want to keep that on the DL.
But even still, this is a team that is going to be rusty. I don't know if Ohio is really going to win the game, but +7, that's a fantastic spread, just because I wouldn't be surprised if Ohio was up maybe 10 at halftime while Virginia's still shaking off the rust and trying to wake up.
The value's there. It's as a bettor, the value's there. Yesterday, we were kind of watching some of these games and how they kind of play out, and Vegas tends to really lean on these big teams. So, it would probably take a pretty substantial Ohio lead for Virginia to come in at plus money at some point today. If that ends up happening, maybe you consider, hedging yourself and sprinkling a little there. But I feel pretty good about it. Where are you guys at with this UCSB Creighton matchup? Because this is one of the most intriguing games of the entire day. Creighton, who knows? They still haven't won since they had the whole plantation comments from McDermott. I'd look it up. We don't have to go into all that. It was not good. The fact that not one of his players posted anything on social media to come to his defense tells you everything you need to know about what the, atmosphere in Creighton is like. But I don't know, man. It feels like an upset's possible. UCSB, they've got Ja'Cory McLaughlin. He's the best player on the floor. It's the same deal. This is a dude that just puts up buckets, could go get 20 a night in any conference in America. I picked Creighton, but I don't feel good about it.
So yesterday when I was up some money, mostly because of the Oral Roberts upset.
We all love Oral, baby.
Yep. Who doesn't love Oral? But
Real quick, did you see what Dev tweeted out?
no.
It was. Check it out if you have it. Not safe for work, but it was just it was a very funny tweet during the Oral Roberts upset. Do what?
You can't say it.
Yeah.
Well,
It's a Saturday, Ben.
I wouldn't click on the account he tagged is all. just check it out at your own check it out at your own digression. I thought it was very funny, but RK's in the back just nodding a bit.
So I getting back to the point. I was up a bit of money yesterday, and so once I was up, I started parlaying the rest of my bets with bets today, so that I would have some action already in the tank, like coming into the day. And I wound up with 3 bets. One of them is on UCSB. I parlayed that with Oklahoma State, like one of the live lines, because I do think, like we've said over and over, Colorado plays Georgetown today, but Georgetown played Creighton in the Big East Championship last week. Creighton looked bad.
They looked bad, man. They
Creighton
got
looked
dominated
bad.
in that game.
Creighton looked bad. And I'm not saying, I haven't seen a whole lot of UCSB. I've heard people say good things about them. I know they have a transfer who's playing well. I'm bought in. I'm bought in.
This is another one of those situations where Creighton is the better team. They're more talented through their roster.
Look, we were talking about Creighton being a potential sleeper to make a title run 2.5 months ago. Them and Villanova both, and now we're in a situation where we don't really trust either of them.
Absolutely. This is one of those picks where if the left side of the bracket hadn't been locked yet, I'd be flipping my pick. I have Creighton in my bracket, so I'll be thrilled if the Blue Jays move on. But if you're looking for 12-5 upsets today, I am just shocked that this one is getting less attention than Georgetown, Colorado, just because Creighton is coming off not just their worst game of their season, quite literally one of the worst games of basketball I've seen all year long. So whether or not that meant Georgetown was that good or Creighton was just that bad, I think is a legitimate argument to be had. That being said, UCSB, they're still also a good basketball team. The stars are aligning for another upset today.
I'm telling you guys, McLaughlin. Watch him. He's gonna ball out today. Drake USC. I mean, we don't have to spend a ton of time on this one because, look, Drake's been a great story. Shout out to producer Kale, the only Drake alum I've ever met in my entire life. Shout out to the guy that applied as well. I guess. I hope you're having a good day.
Kale probably told him about the job.
Yeah.
Yep.
This is a game where Evan Mobley is just too big and too good, right? I just don't see a way that Drake matches up with that size.
Kale, if you're watching, don't watch that game. It's just going to hurt.
Yeah.
Just don't do it.
Just start
When
drinking.
you
Start
have
drinking, turn the TVs off. You had a good run.
when you have a top 5 pick, a top 3 pick in the lottery, you just expect them to at least will you to one victory in the tournament. This is a situation where you're right. Drake does not have, and again, I've only watched the Drake games next to Kale while he's watching them in the bar, so I have not watched a ton of Drake. But USC, I mean, Evan Mobley he's a different beast, and Colorado barely beat USC in the Pac-12 title game. Mobley had 28 points. His thing, though, is not necessarily on offense yet. He is still so kind of raw on the offensive end, and he wills buckets just based on his size. But he's one of the best rim protectors I've ever seen. He's probably the best rim protector in this tournament, and that's going to be huge because you just can't drive on him.
Well, and Drake, they're not a team that gets out and runs. They want to execute in the half court. They want to wind down the shot clock. They want to work them in Wichita State and Loyola, really, it's not a very sexy brand of basketball. It works. I don't see them having the guards being able to penetrate. Maybe if they absolutely light it up from 3, maybe there's a path to an upset there. But I think if it's competitive, that's a victory for Drake at this point. You had a phenomenal season. You won a play-in game in which you were down double digits. That's a fun season. It's not title or bust for everyone. I hope that some college fans realize that.
Certainly not for Drake.
But even Buffs fans, and I'm not trying to be that guy right now. Look, they have a chance to win today, and if they win, you still have a chance at a national championship. That is a legit possibility. But is it likely? No. So, if that's the only way you're going to be satisfied from your season, it's just not going to be very fun as a college fan. I just have, it's a harsh reality. Unless you're a Duke fan or, Kentucky or something like that, you're maybe
And
if
if you're a
lucky.
Duke or
Can what?
Kentucky fan,
Can what, Ben?
if you are a Duke or Kentucky fan, I was going to say, please leave the live
Not
stream.
safe
but
for work, Ben.
yeah,
Get
not
outta here.
safe for
Wow.
work. Yeah, I don't know where that came from.
I do have 2 other bets still open today, though. And
What you got?
One of them is, so what happened was Spencer, around probably like 5:30 yesterday, said, guess what, guys? So far, in every game today, the first half under has hit. And so what I did is parlayed the last few games of the day, first half under, and I hit all of them except for the last game of the night, that Morehead State game. There was like it was very close. But I also put together, I just picked like 6 of my favorite unders, and I parlayed those. Basically, they were a little bit random, and I'm just going to see if the trend holds. And if you guys want to play around with some of those, maybe don't parlay them, but I do think that there's going to be value there today. The other one, though, I have the Missouri money line against Oklahoma, and I'm feeling good about it. You know, Oklahoma lost their second leading scorer heading into the tournament. Am I crazy for liking Missouri in this game?
No, I mean,
not.
no. That injury to Oklahoma, Davion Harris, that's pretty much it.
Well, and OU was struggling even with him. I mean, down the stretch, they were just so inconsistent. That said, I mean,
So is
Missouri
Missouri.
has not exactly
Yeah.
been the definition of consistency this year. So if there was a team that was totally going to screw us, it would be Missouri, much like San Diego State last night. Just
Wow. And if I recall, I believe there was somebody on our pregame show who said they were taking Syracuse. I can't remember who that was.
I have a feeling it was you, Ben.
It was me. You are gosh darn right. No, but this is a game where I really need Missouri to pull through because I had a miss on the 8-9 with North Carolina yesterday.
me too.
How
Killed
about
my parlay?
Oh,
how
yep.
about we
Me
talk?
too.
I mean,
Multiple.
we talk about yesterday just how inconsistent both of those teams were, but especially how inconsistent Wisconsin is. And we said they're going to have to play one of their best games of the season.
They did exactly
They did.
that.
Yep. So this is a game where, yeah, I think you should feel confident in a Missouri money line, but at the same time, if Oklahoma comes out and drops 90 points, I'd be like, okay, that makes sense because both of these teams are it's kind of a crapshoot.
Just real quick, I'm going to put you both on the spot. The Buffs game's about to get going, so we're going to get out of here in just a second. But we've got 2 more Pac-12 games, so we might as well go over those just given our audience right now. We've got number 11 UCLA, who survived a really entertaining play-in game against Michigan State. I thought they were dead in the water. They're going up against a pretty talented number 6 BYU team. I've got BYU advancing, but I'm going to be honest, I don't feel great about it. And it's not that I trust UCLA. They feel like a grimy, grinded out team, and those teams are kind of dangerous because all you have to do is hang around, and that's kind of what they can do.
And they don't have great bigs, is the
Yeah.
thing. And going up against BYU when they have somebody who's 7'3" who
It's
they're
true.
going to throw out there, they were struggling rebounding against Michigan State. Against BYU, I can only imagine that those problems are going to get worse. I personally have BYU in this game, but I don't feel good about it either. We've seen this UCLA team at points look like one of the best teams in the country. They're few and far between, but for many more points, they will look like the best team in the Pac-12, and I think the best team in the Pac-12 should beat BYU this year. It's going to be a good game. I'll say that, and because it's 11-6, I'm not sure where the value is. Looks like the money line's plus 145 for UCLA. I was hoping for a little bit better than that. Yeah, I'm probably staying away in live betting this one.
Yeah, same. That's not a spread I'd want to touch.
This is great live betting game
Yep.
for that. Yeah, and just to tie a bow on that, I have UCLA. I'm kind of in a back the pack mode, at least in the first round, and they're 2-0 so far. Small sample size, but we'll take it.
Hey,
Yep.
the Big Ten was like 0-3 in their first 3 games.
Yes.
Fraud watch? I don't know. We've got number 10 VCU against number 7 Oregon, and the last game of the day. Might be my favorite game of the day. VCU, I don't know if you guys have watched them this year. They are an exciting brand of basketball. They're a great scoring team. Oregon, I really don't know what. All season, I relied on Ben to be my Oregon guy. And I'd be like, Oregon's starting to come around, right? And Ben, oh no, they got this wrong, they got this wrong. And then they would choke and blow a game. And I was like, well, Ben sees something I don't. Is this a game Oregon can win?
Absolutely. Again, I'm in a back-to-pack mode. I'm taking Oregon. I really thought the Ducks were going to be underseeded when this bracket came out. That being said, I think they dropped kind of perfectly as far as... Are you jumping on?
No, are we sitting upstairs or downstairs?
I think upstairs based on... We were downstairs for the last game and they lost, but...
What
Okay,
Okay,
I'll settle
yeah.
with that. But if they're losing in halftime, I'm sprinting up the stairs.
Okay, we'll do that.
Square deal. People on the show right now, if you can't tell, we are a superstitious company.
I am not, but I don't say that often anymore.
Henry's not superstitious, but he is a little stitious.
Exactly.
Only because it's such a good joke, though.
But no, I think Oregon has a good shot in this. I love Oregon's press. I think they have a good defense. That being said, VCU, they're still, like you said, they're good. I mean, this is really shaping up to be a very nice nightcap.
It's going to be a lot of fun. Oregon has flopped a bunch of times this season, and they've also looked really good at points this season. It was a weird season for them with the COVID pauses. They didn't play all their games in a season where the Pac-12, I think, wound up playing like over 98% of the games they'd scheduled. Weird year, but before they lost by double digits to Oregon State in the Pac-12 tournament, they had won 6 games in a row. And because we've seen Oregon State play so well again, I'm ready to buy into that team and kind of just excuse that loss for Oregon and say they are playing well right now. In the same way I'd say Colorado's playing well. They had a 6-game winning streak before losing to Oregon State in the Pac-12 tournament. I think that Oregon's playing well. I think that they're going to go out there and win. I'm a little nervous, though, because we've seen them not look all that good a few times this season.
VCU's won 9 of 12 coming in. Oregon State, they did close the regular season on a 5-game win streak, so they were obviously hot going into that Pac-12 tournament. Something about Oregon State seems to just be weird for Oregon this year. They lost a regular season game to them, lost the conference game to them. I think they lost in football to them this year, too.
Yeah.
So the year of the Beaver, baby. Yesterday was all about Oral. Today it's all about the Beaver.
We did it. It took longer than I thought, but we finally got a groan from Allie.
Wow.
That was good.
That was good. I think that's a good note to end the show on.
I think we're going to end it on that.
Buffs play in 5 minutes. We're excited. We'll be back for post-game show in a couple hours when it's over. Come down to the bar. It's
It's
packed
popping right
now.
now. There was a
There's whole
line out
bunch
the
of people.
door.
But COVID-friendly.
COVID
Oh,
friendly.
and
Friendly packed,
COVID
yes.
friendly.
Yes,
Spread
COVID-friendly
out,
packed.
wearing masks, nobody's breathing. We're all good.
Nobody's breathing.
I don't know.
It's quite the atmosphere.
COVID-friendly. But we're done. We'll see you guys in a couple hours. Or tomorrow if you guys aren't tuning for the post-game show, which would be kind of lame.